Yeah, so what kind of lessons or values do we learn as young people growing up with rules like these that are gendered, that are based on whether or not you're a girl or a boy? Well, for example, I think that they teach us that girls are unsafe at night alone. And that girls are caretakers and meant to clean, while boys should do manual labor. So like it's fairly rare to see a girl who's a mechanic, like a car mechanic, for example. But I don't know, some girls might think that's a really fun job. Or have you ever seen like a male manicurist? Someone who does nails or like is like a hair, like works at a hair salon. So is it okay if I pause and ask you? No? Okay, I'll keep going and then at the end I'll ask you the questions. Fine, okay, sure. Well, think about this. Do you have similar rules at home? Or do you feel like your house rules are fairly equal? So that's something you can keep in mind. Okay. So next, rules in school. And when I was a senior in high school, that was my last year in high school, there was a ton of contention and frustration in our student body because the dress code at my school was fairly specific. So most of the rules were about girls' clothing, and there were almost no rules that talked about boys' clothing. So for example, some common dress code rules were that you cannot wear crop tops or spaghetti straps. Spaghetti straps, do you know that word?
Tirampas.
Spaghetti straps are like thin straps. Yeah, it's like spaghetti straps. And skirts were supposed to be below your fingertips, like here. And leggings were required if you're wearing a dress or a skirt. But then there were no rules about boys' clothing. And necklines as well. Necklines was one too. And as for the lesson or value that's taught through that rule, is that what girls wear is distracting to a learning environment, but not what boys wear. So yeah, I think this is a pretty funny comic. Censored means, do you know what censored means? Yes. Censored is when something is not allowed, so it's censored. And these, professor person is saying, look at this model student, dressed to learn. Her shoulders are covered, and everything. So basically, a good student is, a good female student is a student that doesn't draw attention to herself at all. And I'm curious because I don't know if you have any similar rules at this instituto, or if you have any dress code rules. But we'll talk about that at the end as well. Okay. So, on to the government. In the United States, in 2013, 700 laws were proposed about women's bodies. 700 laws were proposed to regulate women's bodies in the United States in 2013. And in 2014, over 450. So every year, hundreds of laws are proposed to regulate women's bodies. And at the same time, there were 0 that regulated men's bodies. And who was making those choices? Well, 29 47.3% of state legislators are women. So that means over 70% of the people making choices about women's bodies were not women. And in the United States, this is a really big topic right now, especially because through the Trump administration, many new laws regulating women's bodies, specifically about abortion, were like introduced and pushed forward through legislation. So we're going to look at 3 examples. And the first one is called the tampon tax. And tampons are menstrual hygiene products. They look like this, if you don't know the word. And essentially, it's a tax that is called a luxury tax. So like,